Hi there, I am Erica and I'm a professional meal prepper, otherwise known as a personal chef in New York City. I'm today headed over to Claudia's house to do a big family style meal prep and excited to take you guys along for the ride. I just arrived at Claudia's house and the fresh direct is here already, which is great. I'm just gonna unpack it. This is always the first thing I do whenever I get to a client is double check that I have everything I need for the entire menu. What we're doing today for Claudia is what I call family style meal prep. I've seen it on the web called buffet style meal prep a good amount. Family style meaning a few mains, a few sides all stored separately instead of what I call composed meal prep, which is more like a lunchbox style where you would put a main and a couple of sides in one container. One of the family really likes noodles and red sauce, so we're gonna mix it up, get some vegetables into her diet, hopefully make her feel comfortable with the idea of eating spaghetti squash, or maybe she won't even realize she's eating it. Whenever I know that I'm going to be using quite a bit of one ingredient, I try to get all of its prep out of the way at the beginning of the meal prep. So a good example is something like garlic, which I'm gonna be using a lot of. I just minced quite a bit of it, maybe like 10 cloves. And so I've got it in this little container. I'm gonna use it throughout the meal prep. Another thing I always like to have handy is a little side cellar of salt. It's just a lot easier to be able to pull the salt out with your fingers rather than pouring it or cracking it with a container or a mill. It's my personal opinion that if you find a store-bought sauce that you really like, that has great ingredients, and is similar to something you would make at home, it's a great way to shorten the time that your meal prep might take you. So starting with a store-bought sauce, I do it every once in a while. I think it's definitely an okay shortcut to take. What I've done here for the marinade, I'm not just using the pesto. I've got some garlic, some balsamic vinegar, some salt, and some cracked pepper, and I'll add a little extra olive oil, and then our chicken will be good to go. A question that comes up to me a lot when people are asking about meal prep is how much should I make? And as a rule of thumb with grains, what I always aim for is 1/4 cup of the dry grain per serving per person. Hot tip, always salt your grains while they're cooking. You want to salt the water a good amount, like 1/2 teaspoon per cup of grain. You want food that's gonna taste good over the course of the next 5 days. So what I like to focus on are hearty vegetables, so something like asparagus. I also really like dark meat. If dark meat is something that you enjoy, I highly recommend leaning in that direction. So for example, today we're having chicken thighs instead of a chicken breast because chicken thighs are gonna stay moister. A couple more things that I love are cruciferous vegetables. So we're talking cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, all those things will stay fresh. So I love kale salads for that reason. The final thing I'll say that I really like for meal prep is meatballs or any type of burger, because you're infusing flavor and you're also creating a little ball or burger that has built-in moisture, so it's gonna stay nice and moist even if you reheat it. We're about an hour and a half in and we're getting close to finishing up over here. I have the onions caramelizing. Once that's done, that's just like an assembly deal. It's important to, before you store your food, let it cool down completely. This is for any meal prep. but especially family style meal prep where it's going into a big Tupperware. You don't want a bunch of heat in your Tupperware before you pop it in the fridge because it will create condensation, which can affect freshness. I love family meal prep as a way to make back to school more manageable. It's a great way to just get ahead of lunchbox prep because what you have when you're all done with a big family meal prep is a bunch of little things that can go into bento boxes like this. If you don't have anything to go in the final compartment, a fun thing to do is just put some stickers or a note in there. Now I am arranging the finished product so that it can be photographed, which is one of my favorite parts. If a recipe really strikes me as being special, I will write up the recipe and post it to my blog, but you gotta get it all just right. So the last thing I always do before I leave a client is make note of everything that I made on little post-it notes. If there are specific reheating instructions, I'll always make note of that. And I'm also gonna leave a little note just letting them know how it went in the kitchen today and any information about the food that they might need to have. I just took everything to the trash, all done for today. If you have any questions about family style meal prep, definitely drop them below in the comments section. You can also find me, my Instagram handle is @FreshErica, and if you're interested in my blog, it's fresherica.com.
I have rice, I have chicken, so you can me light.
It's so good, it's amazing.